the Minnesota state school system is up this year, representing a big step forward for the group of colleges. Several key factors are at play, but higher education leaders within the Minnesota state system say it's an overwhelmingly good sign for its 33 schools. Valley News Team's Quinn Gorham explains.
Just a few short weeks into the school year, and Minnesota state colleges and universities are already showing some growth in enrollment. Overall, enrollment numbers are up 7% statewide, and of the Minnesota state system's colleges and universities, 31 out of 33 have shown some sort of growth. Experts with the Minnesota state system attribute the growth to a number of factors, but direct aid to students is perhaps the largest. For the first time this year, students are attending school on the new North Star Promise program. The program, signed into law in 2023, promises free tuition at Minnesota schools for families earning less than $80,000 a year. U of M, Minnesota State, and tribal colleges all fall under the bill's umbrella. Minnesota State's Paul Shepard says other elements like new scholarship and workforce programs, as well as a tuition freeze, have contributed as well. Overall, he says it's a good sign for the state.
To be able to prepare students to go into the workforce and drive the economy and make Minnesota as vibrant of a community as it possibly can be across the state is a big part of our goal.
For some schools, such as Duluth's Lake Superior College, the enrollment increase represents the largest growth in at least the last decade. There's optimism from Shepard and others that this trend isn't just a flash in the pan. Shepard said in his own words that the state has created the right infrastructure to continue seeing this growth on a year-by-year basis. A telling indicator of whether or not this trend will be here to stay will be what we see next spring and next fall. Reporting in St. Paul, I'm Quinn Gorham.
The Minnesota state system expects to have more detailed data and analysis on the North Star Promise program in coming months.